Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. The Season 1 Reloaded update obviously shifted the Warzone meta around a little bit, as we've already talked about, and so today we are breaking down the new top 10 best loadouts to be running after the patch. So we're starting off first here with a little 2-for-1. Why is it so dark on this preview screen? You can't see half of the signal here, but I don't run many overkill classes in Warzone just because, I don't love the perk selection that we get here. Like, yeah, you get overkill, but then you get strong arm, which I don't think is a hugely beneficial second perk in all cases. And as we know, the bonus perk and our ultimate perk don't work half the time, it seems like. So I'm not a huge fan of overkill, especially when you can buy different loadouts or buy different class setups, I should say, out of the buy station, which oftentimes is what I'll do to replace my secondary. But I did want to talk about one here that I feel like lately has been especially dominant. It's a mixture of the Signal as like my long range sniper option here, and then my personal choice of sniper support is the Vaznev. This thing is spicy. For what it's worth though, you could run both of these on like an individual setup that we'll cover here just with the standard perks, and we'll get to that in just a moment. But real quick, stuns and drill charge are pretty much on all my setups here. I like the stuns just for slowing players down. Drill charges are great for late game campers, but if you like Semtex more, Thermites more, feel free to run those. Getting into the actual setups here, first up for the Signal, this thing for sniping by far the best choice, just because it is sort of spammable. It's not bolt action like the other ones, which means you can actually get that knock way faster with this. It's by far the best sniper. I've been loving this thing recently. As far as the tuning goes on all these, just to save you guys time, I'll throw up the different values for all the tunable options just with each loadout here, so you guys can get a quick screenshot there and just make things easier for everyone. But first up, I do have the 6.6 times optic, the nice variable zoom here. I feel like is super convenient. Then I tune that for a slightly faster ADS and like the furthest eye position essentially there, which is going to make it a little bit more snappy. Of course, because we are going for a somewhat aggressive sniper build here, we want to have the Olay laser on there for that faster ADS and sprint to fire, so that makes that a little bit better there. I do run the 7-round mag because with no bolt action, if you're shooting at players consistently, 5 rounds runs out very quickly, so 7 rounds is nice and consistent there, just a little bit of extra ammo. 2 shots enough to get 1 kill there, basically. I do use high velocity ammo there just because that's going to give us some better velocity as is. Then of course we go for basically max velocity and slightly better range on there as well. Then lastly, I go for the Brew and Counter Ops suppressor here for the better range, the better velocity, and of course it'll keep my red dot off of that compass as well. And then for tuning here, we want that faster ADS and slightly better velocity too. So this thing for long range, phenomenal, and for a sniper in the game, truly it is the best option there. The next gun that we have here is of course the Vaznev, and this thing is very reliable and very consistent as well. So for close range, for even some mid-range, because it's so low recoil, you can fry with this thing as an own individual weapon. Obviously you can pair it with a long range gun here, which is what I'd recommend for any cases. You'll see the other 8 weapons that we're breaking down here in this general top 10, they're all going to be paired with a pistol, which I'll break down that setup as well. But in general, you can flip-flop pretty much all these to use together in the same setup, maybe with the exception of some of the rifles or LMGs with a sniper, obviously. But for the Vaznev here, again, we're kind of just trying to capitalize on that speed while maintaining some mid-range dominance as well. So I do use the True Tac grip here for that better sprint to fire and ADS. I go ahead and I tune that for an even better sprint to fire and ADS as well. We got the Olay laser for that faster sprint to fire and ADS as well. The Cast 1 barrel here, this is going to be better for damage range and velocity, so it's going to help out a little bit with that mid-range engagement area where you might be using it for sniper support. You might have it out and run into an enemy in that range, and that can help out a tad bit there. Also, we can tune that for a better ADS and strafe speed as well, which is nice. The RR40 suppressor here going to be one that I run on a lot of my SMGs just because it's the least punishing in terms of the cons there, which pretty much eliminates all the other options, unfortunately. So this does help out again with the range and velocity, but also keeps me off the compass, and we can tune that for an even better ADS and bullet velocity. Then lastly, the shark fin underbarrel here is mainly used because while it is giving you free aiming stability with no cons, you can tune it for the better ADS and aim walking speed, so some free benefits there that help out a little bit. This thing though, relatively straightforward and very reliable. Next up, we've got the Kastov 74U, and again, you could pair this with a sniper if you wanted to with the Signal for close and mid-range. You could pair this with another rifle or LMG if you wanted to as well. In this case though, this is the main setup that I'd be using on basically all my other loadouts in terms of the secondary perks and equipment here. So I go for the Recon perk package for double time for that slightly better tac sprint, and you can see those footsteps, which can be pretty beneficial. And then if know, the bonus and ultimate perks ever want to work, those wouldn't be bad ones to have. So this could be a decent perk package moving forward. Again, drill, charge, and stun. And then my secondary is going to be the Akimbo X13. You guys know they just nerfed every other Akimbo pistol but the X13, which definitely makes this the easiest and most reliable in my opinion here. So obviously I'm going for the Akimbo attachment here. 2 is better than 1. 24 round magazine just for that extra ammo. 1 milliwatt laser for that better hip fire accuracy. Then I go for the LUC9 barrel, which is for better movement speed, so it's a little bit faster for rotations there. And then the DX90F suppressor just to keep me off the compass, frankly, and it hurts your damage range, which is not a huge con in this situation. This is obviously only meant for close range. So that's the secondary setup on all the remaining weapons as well. But as far as the Kastov 74U goes here, we're basically just trying to play to its strengths of close range and mid range yet again. So Demo X2 grip is going to help out with some recoil control, and I actually tune this sort of like for the inverse, for the better sprint to fire and for the better ADS. So you're getting all the pros out of that essentially. 45 round mag, just because in Warzone that extended mag is pretty clutch for that added safety net of squad fights. Olay laser for the faster ADS and sprint to fire. BR209 barrel is going to give you that better movement speed and ADS speed, so that's nice and aggressive. Then I get a better ADS and better recoil out of the tunes there. And then lastly, Echoless 80 suppressor. You'll see this one on a lot of my options as well. This is for better range, velocity. The smoothness factor doesn't really change much there, but then I tune it for an even faster ADS and slightly better velocity. So you got your close range and your mid range completely covered here. Moving on after that, we've got one of my favorite weapons in the game right now, the Sakin. Like, this thing is right up there with the RPK and the RAAL. I think we all know the nerf is coming to the RPK and the RAAL, but maybe not so much to the Sakin because it's not nearly as broken as them, but it's just as equally reliable because this thing is low recoil and heavy hitting. Like, this thing, like we've talked about recently in its own specific video, is a beast. So here, we're running the same setup that I actually had there. We got the Bruin Go5 grip, which is going to help out with control, so it's going to be a laser beam over range. Tuned for slightly better steadiness and slightly better stability. AMOP V4 optic is about what I run on pretty much all my mid to long range setups, just because this thing is clean, the visual recoil is easy. We tune this for, of course, that furthest eye position, slightly faster ADS. That's not going to make too much of a difference there. FTAC Ripper Underbarrel, also one that I run on a lot of my setups here for the stabilization. That's going to make the recoil super easy. And I tune that for basically max stabilization and then slightly better idle stability. We got the Kastovia muzzle, which is a suppressor that I think is the best in the game, basically, because it's only going to end up hurting your ADS and stability and aim walking speed and not your damage range or your velocity like a lot of other options would. This does help out with control as well, which is super nice and beneficial. We tune this one for max velocity and better smoothness. And then lastly, I got the Silver Series barrel here for the better velocity and control and range and whatnot, tuned for even better range and slightly better steadiness. So this thing, low recoil, so easy to use, and will erase players and squads without even having to reload, honestly. By the way, as we are breaking all these setups down today, if you guys are new to the channel, every single day I got you covered with quite literally everything going on in COD between MW2, Warzone 2, and DMZ. This is your one-stop shop, so feel free to hit that subscribe button, turn on those post notifications. Every day we're seeing like 15 to 20,000 new viewers for the first time, so if that's you, we'd love to have you join the family. Also, if you guys enjoyed this video, let me know by dropping a like on it. It really does help the channel grow. Let's try and aim for 3,000 likes on this one. Then we got all the reliable after that, the M4. This thing for mid-range, for long range again, even as well. Obviously, long range meta in this game, bit different because of weapons actually having recoil this year, but the M4 absolutely can hold its own here. It is low recoil, really good fire rate as well. So like the realistic TTK here is going to be very competitive because you're going to land shots more with this than you would maybe a higher recoil alternative weapon. So here again, we got the AMOP V4. We're tuning for that furthest eye position, slightly better ADS once more. 45 round mag just for that safety net once again. Ripper Underbarrel, same reasons as before. We're tuning this for that better stabilization and better stability. Echoless 80 suppressor here again. There's no Kastovia option and that bums me out, but this will suffice for the time being. We got a better ADS and better velocity on that tune. Then lastly, we got the high tower barrel on here as well, tuned for that better control and better range as well. So this setup in general is going to absolutely fry. Low recoil, good damage, really good overall TTK. Following the M4, we're switching back to close range with truly the best close range option in the entire game, the Fennec 45. This thing's TTK up close is the best there is, frankly, when it comes down to it. If you land your shots with this thing, the enemies have no chance. If you hit a headshot or two while you're fighting them, they're going to be in the gulag or they're going to be back in the pregame lobby so fast, they're not going to be able to blink, basically. Like, this thing is insane. So here we got the rubber grip, first and foremost, better ADS and sprint to fire, tuned for even better sprint to fire and slightly better control as well. 45 round mag, must have. The fire rate here is so insane. Honestly, 45 still makes you reload way too much. 7 milliwatt laser for that faster ADS, shark fin underbarrel for, again, the free stats for the better ADS and aim walking speed. Then I go for the covert force barrel. This is going to be for better range, velocity, keeps you off the compass as well. It's going to be a little bit slower with this barrel on here. If you wanted to, you could always drop that and just throw on like the RR40 or whatever muzzle is going to do the least damage to your cons there. But overall, this one is going to be nice and consistent, make it easy to use, and it's still very snappy and very speedy. We're tuning for better aim walking speed and a better ADS there as well. So for close range, very few things are going to be better than the Fennec here. Now switching back to long range, Kastov 7.62. The AK-47 in this game is a beast. We're talking decent control, like it definitely has more bounce than, say, an M4 or an M13 or a Chimera, these other options, but it brings the power. So if you are accurate with this thing, you are going to fry. You just have to really get that recoil control down and master that, and after that, you're good. You're set. This thing is very, very spicy. So in this case, we're going for the Schlager 3.4 times optic, furthest eye position, slightly faster ADS. If you like aim op V4 better, go for that. If you like a different optic better, go for that. That's more preference based. Demo X2 grip for the better control, tuned for even better control and even better stability. 40 round mag here, that added safety net yet again. Phase 3 underbarrel is going to basically be doing the same thing as, say, the Ripper or the Grave Digger or these other options that are basically all focused on the same pros there. We just want the better stabilization essentially, and we tune to capitalize on that even more. Then lastly, we got the Kastovia back yet again, tuned for that slightly faster ADS and then basically max velocity there as well. So powerful, decent control, but overall, after you master this gun, it's one of the best choices in the entire game. Now, speaking of power, there is nothing better over range for power than the RAAL. Again, with the control here, it's a bit more bouncy than some of the other easier options, but that's because this thing shoots like a nuke, basically. Like, this thing's going to decimate if you are landing your shots. It's just that powerful over range. Now, if you know 0 to 40 meters, it's still going to be super good, but because it's so heavy, you might see other guns outgunning it in that range because they're more geared towards the mid-range. But for long range, the RAAL is it, man. This thing is a beast. So we got the Stip 40 grip here. We're focused basically on control here to make this thing as much of a laser beam as possible so that we can just shred everyone, right? So we tune for slightly better steadiness and stability there. Aim op V4 yet again. Schlager 3.4 works. A red dot works. Totally down to preference there. Dune underbarrel. This is going to help out with steadiness, which is all general control, tuned for slightly better stabilization and slightly better stability. Nil Sound 90 suppressor, better range, better velocity, minimal cons there, so it's not hurting you too much. Tuned for a slightly faster ADS and better velocity again. And then lastly, we got the Demo Field Pro for the better range, the better velocity and whatnot. So we also got a better range and steadiness out of the tunes on there. So relatively low recoil compared to where it started because of these attachments, and the power is like none other. Now for our final few weapons, I mean, no surprises here. The TAC 56 absolutely has to be mentioned in a top 10 weapons list, right? Like, this thing, so reliable, so consistent. It's got good damage, decent control. Again, not the lowest recoil rifle, but I think this is a lot easier than, say, the 7.62 or the RAAL, for instance. So in terms of that factor, it's got the plus and advantage there. This thing is just honestly my favorite gun in the game right now. It's just so reliable and so consistent, so easy to use that you're gonna fry. It just helps that it's also very powerful as well, in addition to being easy to use. So aim op V4 yet again, furthest eye position, slightly faster ADS, 40 round mag in this case, Ripper underbarrel for the same reasons as before, better stabilization, better idle stability. Echoless 80 here as well for the better ADS, basically max velocity, doesn't hurt too much in this case. And then we go for the Tundra Pro barrel. It helps out with that range and velocity. We tune it for basically better control and then max range as well. You don't really lose out too much on those cons going all the way up and all the way right on that. So this thing about as easy as it gets in terms of what you're getting out of the gun. Power, control, damage, it's got it all. And then lastly, of course, we've got the RPK. While the TAC 56 might be my favorite gun in the game, the RPK is outright the best gun in the game. It is lower recoil in comparison to some guns. Its damage over range is absurd. It's just got it all going on. Damage per mag is good, TTK is good, control is good. You can't go wrong with this thing. We got the Schlager 3.4 times on there again, tuned for that furthest eye position and faster ADS. Demo X2 grip on there as well. That's going to be tuned for that better steadiness, then also the better aiming idle stability. High velocity ammo just to make it feel a little bit more consistent with that hit reg, tuned for max range, max velocity essentially. We got the lock grip precision on here. You could also go for, you know, the phase 3 if you wanted to. You could go for the shark fin if you wanted to. In this case, this is the recoil pattern that I know very well, so I'm consistently running this underbarrel on there. Tuned for the better aim walking speed. You can go slightly faster ADS there as well. That won't hurt things too much. Then lastly, we got the Polar Fire S muzzle tuned for slightly better ADS and then better velocity as well. This thing is, like I said, just downright the best gun in the game. With all that being said, those are the top 10 best weapons / the best loadouts to be running in Warzone after the recent updates. And that's going to wrap things up. If you guys enjoyed the video, let me know by dropping a like on it. And if you're new here, feel free to hit that subscribe button, turn on those post notifications. That way you can always guarantee you're up to date with all things going on in COD. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.